friends, and welcome back for another Brutus Monroe video. This is Cassie. Today I'm going to be focusing on the Stamp Club Stamp of the Month, which is this adorable bear for November. It's a little welcome baby bear, but you could use that little bear for other things. We're also going to be using the die of the month. I'll focus on that more next week, but I'm going to be using this little daisy image. I love this die of the month. Like I said, we'll talk about that more next week. But we're also going to be using some whitewash cardstock, some rouge, and some Lagoon cardstock, because we're going to be making some tags. I have some alcohol marker cardstock that I've put into my mini Misty, and I'm going to ink up my little image with some Raven detail ink. This is perfect for alcohol marker coloring, and I want to show you a technique today that will show you how you can add a little bit of texture to your images, especially little critters. So we're going to do two of these because I want to make a boy and a girl tag. And so I'm just going to stamp those out a couple times, make sure they're good and crisp images, and then we'll move on to our coloring. Now for this technique, you're going to want to start with whatever it is you plan to add some texture to. And that is where you have to start. So I'm starting with my brown color because I want to add some little fuzzy to my bear. And so I'll just color just the bear. Even if I needed this color for some other part, I'm only going to color the bear. Because once you do this technique, it's going to affect everything underneath it. And you can do on top of it, but it's something that you would have to do first. So I'm adding my darker shadows and then going to blend that out with my E25. And then I'm going to color my other bear. And like I said, we're just doing the brown. We're not going to color his nose or anything else. We're just coloring him. So what I want to do is I'm going to use my microfiber cloth. We'll bring that in here in a second. And we're going to, now I'm using Copics, so I'm using a colorless blender, but alcohol, like a 70% alcohol would work with this as well. I would just say test it out, try it out, just see what works for you. So I have a clean microfiber cloth. Well, it doesn't look clean, but I promise you it is. And I'm going to take my colorless blender and I'm just going to spread a little bit of that on that microfiber cloth. I want the texture from the microfiber. And then I'm just going to pounce that onto my bear. And I do a little bit, it's probably oversaturated, but I do love the effect of what it does. What that's going to do is, as you can see, add a little bit of texture to my bear, make him look kind of fuzzy. It's going to spread the color out as well and make him look like he is fuzzy outside of his lines. So I'm just kind of letting that do its magic. And now we're going to come in and do the rest of our coloring. So you can see why it was important for me to do the bear first, because if I had colored the whole thing and tried to do this, it would have added that texture everywhere. So I didn't want that. All right, now moving on, I've decided, because it's spreading, it's still spreading, and I like that look. After I'm done coloring my bear entirely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just heat set this, kind of get that alcohol to evaporate a little bit, but take a look at that texture. It makes him look like he's fuzzy, and I just think it's so cute. It's so much fun. So you can use an old rag or whatever you feel like might add the texture that you're looking for. You could even use like some burlap or something along those lines. I'm going to go ahead now and use the pink for this little bear. And I'm going right over where the fuzzy is. All that's going to do is, because these are transparent markers, the fuzzy is still going to show through the pink, which I love. And then, there's no issue. It's just so fun. So now I'm bringing in a darker color. This is my darker pink. It's the RV25. And then I will blend that out just a little bit, just trying to add a little bit of shadowing to the different areas. And I'll bring in my RV55 again to soften those edges just a little bit. But as you can tell, it really doesn't affect the fuzzy too much. You can still see it. Now I'm going to bring in some G00. I know that's a green color, but hang with me. We're doing a turquoise since our color is Lagoon underneath. And then I'm going to bring in the BG15 as my darker color. And then we'll blend that out again. You could go even further, I suppose, and bring in a third color, but I decided that a 2-color blend was plenty. I wanted to focus mostly on my texture of my little guy using the microfiber cloth and the colorless blender. But I would experiment with the alcohol markers that you have and maybe a little bit of alcohol and see what you can get. But I love it. He's just a fuzzy little bear. So now we're going to fussy cut these out, and I'm going to use my Brutus Monroe fussy cutting scissors. Not a big deal here because it's mostly like a little rectangle. It doesn't require a whole lot of cutting or snipping. So it's a pretty easy image to fussy cut, and I'm leaving a little bit of a white border all the way around both of them. And now I've pulled out that die from the die of the month, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. You may want to use a shim if you want all of your little pieces to pop out like I do. I tried it the first time without the shim, and it kept most of those pieces inside, so, which is still a very pretty look, but I wanted all the pieces to be popped out. I did it with both my Rouge and my Lagoon cardstock, and now we're going to attach this to a piece of whitewash cardstock that I have cut down. I'm going to use one of my tag dies that I have in my stash. I always find that it's fun when I'm trying to give out like a baby gift to have a tag instead of a card necessarily. So I'll use some liquid glue. It might have been better to use my sticker maker to do this because those are fairly intricate lines, but if you are careful with your glue and you don't go too crazy with it, you can, just use liquid glue like I'm doing. I had a couple areas where it popped out the sides, but it dried and we're all good now. Now I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine so that I have my tags ready to go. I'll do that with both the blue and the pink. I didn't need the shim here, although actually the shim probably would have been helpful just because I'm cutting through 2 layers of cardstock and some glue, so I did have to bring in my scissors, but it cut it fine. I just decided to use my scissors to make sure that I didn't tear it, but a shim would work good. And then I'm going to get ready to start attaching everything. But before I do that, I do want to trim down some heat-resistant vellum. I want as much of those flowers to show as possible, but I do want my sentiment on the front there. So I've cut down some heat-resistant vellum, and this will fit all the way across the bottom of the tag. And I'll use my magic powder bag on both of those, sweep away any of the excess, and then I am going to stamp the Welcome Baby on the bottom, or on those pieces, just using my embossing ink, which is just a clear sticky ink. And I have some Raven ultrafine embossing powder. It's just a fine black embossing powder. It's perfect. And it worked really well here. So we'll just cover those with that embossing powder. Do that for both of them. And one of my other favorites is the Raven Sparkle embossing powder. I don't believe that's an ultrafine, but it does. I haven't had any issues with sentiments using it as well. So then we'll heat set that, and this is heat resistant vellum, and so it will melt quickly, but I've never had any issue with it warping or burning. But I am, as you notice, using some reverse tweezers so that I don't burn my fingers. Now I want to put the hole in the top, so I'm just going to line those up together, use my hole punch that through, and then we'll attach some foam tape to the back of both of our little bears. I want those to be popped up. I end up screwing up here. What I should have done was attach my sentiment first. I put down my bear after I took off the release paper, and I did pull him back. You'll notice that it did kind of tear the flower a little bit, but it's going to be covered by the bear, so I'm not worried about it. Miles is going to try and run off with my tag or my bear, but in the meantime I was able to put down some of that Derice tissue tape, which is perfect for vellum. And then I'll just stick that down, pop down my little bear, and I'll do that for both of them. And now we'll need to attach some ribbon. So I've cut down some blue ribbon. Sorry it's not on screen seeing me attach it. All I did was double it up, put it through, and then put that through the loop. And so here we go. We've got our 2 little tags. They were super fun and easy to make, and I hope you learned something as far as texture and alcohol markers. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for all the love and support that you guys give, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye everybody.